Another loaded show coming your way on today's Philadelphia Eagles Now. My name is Chase Sr., and as always, there are so many content options out there. Anytime you decide to hang out here with us, we certainly appreciate that. And no matter where you are or how you're tuned in, thanks for being here. Coming up today on Philadelphia Eagles Now, how the Eagles got a gift from the Kansas City Chiefs going into this Week 2 matchup at Arrowhead Stadium. And then we're going to take your questions for a mailbag. Speaking of Eagles-Chiefs, we'll do it live. The real ones know. Join us for our Eagles-Chiefs watch party Sunday afternoon. It is going to be the Fox game of the week. So Kevin Burkhardt, Tom Brady on the call. But if you don't want to watch or listen to them, you can watch and listen to yours truly. Live play-by-play audience interaction, the best place to experience an Eagles game day outside of being at the actual game. Our Super Chat MVP is going to get an autographed Brandon Graham mini helmet. We'll give away a football as well. You don't want to miss it. Hit that sub button. Go Birds. And I hope to see all of you there. All right, a lot to get to here on the show. Some really important injury news for the Kansas City Chiefs. Xavier Worthy, 4.2 speedster, set the record at the NFL Combine 2 drafts ago for running the fastest 40-yard dash in the history of the Combine. We saw in the Super Bowl in garbage time as the Chiefs stat padded. He was very explosive. Got behind that Eagles secondary, and he put up one of the best performances in Super Bowl history statistically for a rookie in the history of the championship bout. But in that Week 1 game for Kansas City, as they played the Chargers in Brazil and lost, there was a crossing route. And it was a classic rub route pick play where Travis Kelce was crossing from left to right, Xavier Worthy from right to left, I believe, or maybe vice versa. Either way, Travis Kelce didn't understand the depth of his route. And he talked about how he made a mistake on the New Heights podcast alongside Jason Kelce, Eagles legend, and said, I've been in the league for 13 years. I have to be better. But as they were crossing on those crossing patterns, trying to open up Xavier Worthy underneath on a shallow cross to pick up yards after the catch, Kelce, who's huge, Worthy, who's small, collided. And Xavier Worthy lasted 3 plays into the game, separated his shoulder. He's day-to-day. Now, he's going to get some second opinions from other doctors to see if he can play with a brace, if he can play in Week 2, how long he's going to be out, if he needs to get shoulder surgery. But Andy Reid did say earlier this week, as of right now, he is day-to-day. But he is a very explosive player who is always a threat to take the lid off of the defense and to beat you vertically, but to also pick up yards after the catch with that blazing speed. And so if the Chiefs are without him or with him, it obviously changed the complexion of the game. And this is a Kansas City offense that I've said this week is very talent deficient. They do not have a lot of talent on the offensive side of the ball. And at wide receiver, they don't have a lot of depth either. And Rashee Rice suspended the first 6 games of the year after his accident and car issue had happened last year in the city of Dallas, where he shut down one of the major highways in the city for hours because of a wreck in which he then fled the scene. And so because of that legal situation, reckless driving, he is out for this game and suspended the first 6 games of the year. He's a legitimate wideout, and when he comes back, he will be the Chiefs' number 1, Xavier Worthy the number 2, and then Juju Smith-Schuster probably the number 3. And so because the Chiefs are talentless, really, on the offensive side of the ball, this is one of the thinnest teams that they've had as far as offensive talent. There is a lot on the shoulders of Patrick Mahomes. He has taken onus of needing to create and be a playmaker by himself, extending plays to throw it downfield with his feet and his legs and becoming more of a running threat. It's one of the big takeaways from that Kansas City Week 1 game against the Chargers, how often and how much he used his feet because he needed to, because a lot of his receivers were not able to get downfield. And the Chiefs, they're still a dynasty. In the AFC, a team still needs to knock them off. They have been to 5 Super Bowls and 5 AFC championship games in the last 6 years. But to the Chiefs' expectations and with where they've been, this is one of the worst Chiefs teams roster-wise in recent memory. But they have a few key pillars here. Andy Reid, maybe the best offensive head coach in the history of the NFL. Steve Spagnuolo, one of the best defensive minds and defensive coordinators in the history of the NFL. Patrick Mahomes, the current GOAT at the quarterback spot, really. And then you have Chris Jones on defense at defensive tackle, who has been a pillar for that team. I would also say Trent McDuffie is an elite player because of how great these individuals are on your screen right now are. That's why the Chiefs can still be Super Bowl contenders. That speaks to the greatness of these four figures right here. And obviously the Eagles are understanding of that going into this Week 2 game. Chase, you're not talking about Travis Kelce. He's not on this screen as one of their pillars. Not right now. He has been a pillar, but Travis Kelce is kind of washed. He is well past his prime. And it wouldn't surprise me if he retires after this year because he's not the same dynamic player. The Chiefs' play calling backs that up. Travis Kelce's inability to get open and pick up yards after the catch certainly serves as evidence behind that. He's just not the same guy. He might be as popular as he's ever been because he just got engaged to Taylor Swift and they've been together for a little while. And on the New Heights podcast, digitally, it's one of the most powerful podcasting platforms, but on the football field, Travis Kelce isn't the same cat. Another topic I want to get to here today, a big storyline in Super Bowl 59, right? It was how the Eagles' defensive line was able to pummel and dominate the Chiefs' offensive line. And in the process, they harassed Patrick Mahomes. And there is a formula for how to beat Patrick Mahomes. And I saw some fakes and some phonies in the comment section. Chase, of course the formula is to get a pass rush on Patrick Mahomes in order to take him down. Well, how about this? Easier said than done. The Bills haven't been able to do it in AFC Championship games or in the playoffs. The Ravens haven't been able to do it in AFC Championship games or in the playoffs. The Bengals did it once, but not sustainably. The San Francisco 49ers have lost to the Chiefs twice, partially because they can't do this. The formula to beat Mahomes, it's easier said than done. It has to be executed. You have to generate a pass rush on Mahomes, and oftentimes you have to do it without blitzing. The Eagles in Super Bowl 59 generated 16 quarterback pressures, 11 quarterback hits, and 6 sacks. They followed suit with what the Bucs did in Super Bowl 55. And there's a reason why Mahomes has lost the 2 Super Bowls that he's lost. Because he has been under pressure from start to finish with an unrelenting pass rush. The Bucs in Super Bowl 55, they set a record for the most quarterback pressures in Super Bowl history with 29. They also had 3 sacks and a pressure rate of 52%. And when you do that, Mahomes is a completely different player, and he's prone to turning it over. We saw that back in February when he gave it away 3 times. And back in February at the Superdome, that Chiefs offensive line, it was a big question mark. And that was a big matchup that I pinpointed going into that game, that the Eagles defensive line had the edge on the Chiefs offensive line. And the sod father wasn't watering down the sod to help out Kansas City this year because the Superdome has turf. And so this Chiefs offensive line now, still a major question mark. You have a rookie starting at left tackle, protecting the blind side for Patrick Mahomes in Josh Simmons out of Ohio State. You have a second-year player in Kingsley Suamataia, who wasn't good enough to play tackle, so now he's a left guard. You have Creed Humphrey and Trey Smith at center and right guard. They are studs. And then you have an okay, sometimes good to very good right tackle in Jawan Taylor, but I wouldn't call him elite by any means. And in week 1, Simmons, Suamataia, they struggled. Vic Fangio knows this. He's smelling blood in the water. So too is this Eagles front with their interior defensive line play and their edge rushers. Pass blocking grades in week 1 against the Chargers. Josh Simmons, 61.4. Suamataia, 56.9. They weren't much better running the ball. Simmons' run blocking grade, 59.1. Suamataia, 59.5. When Jalen Carter missed that Cowboys game, the Cowboys went right at that interior Eagles defensive line. They averaged 5.5 yards per carry. Javonte Williams, Miles Sanders, they had success on the ground running at this Eagles interior defensive line. Expect the Eagles in this game to load up pressure on the Chiefs' left side of the offensive line, the Eagles' right side of the defensive line. Running the ball, expect Philadelphia to also have the edge there. So when it comes down to their game planning, I think Philadelphia feels as though they can exploit the left side of that Chiefs offensive line with the right side of their defense. And you can do this in a variety of ways, right? You can do it with Zach Bond as a blitzer. You can do it with Jahad Campbell as an edge rusher. We saw him do that a little bit against Dallas. But this is a big game coming up for Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, Moro Ajomo, Nolan Smith, Jalen Hunt, Josh Uche, who was fantastic in that Week 1 game. We knew coming off that Super Bowl the Chiefs had major offensive line questions. I don't know if they did all that much to really shore up what was their biggest weakness in that Super Bowl game. That's how they're giving the Eagles a gift here. Now, can Simmons become a good player eventually? Yeah, and it was a little bit of a risk for Kansas City to take him in the first round because he was coming off a really severe injury at Ohio State where he barely played last year. But right now, he's really just okay. And I think that Philadelphia can take over the game once again if they do those following things. Also, a cool stat when it comes to Jalen Hurts and Patrick Mahomes. This has become one of the better rivalries in the NFL. You had them match up against one another in Super Bowl 57. You had them go up against one another in 2023 when Jalen Hurts led a comeback win on the road at Arrowhead Stadium in primetime. And then Hurts able to get a Super Bowl revenge on Mahomes in Super Bowl 59. And they have won a lot of games, each of them, since 2022. Top winning percentage among quarterbacks since 2022, Jalen Hurts, number 1 at 79+%. He's 38-10. Patrick Mahomes right on his heels, 78% at 39-11. Josh Allen, 74.5%, 38-13. And then Lamar Jackson, just under 72% winning percentage at 33-13. Who you got in this football game? It's going to be a great one. I can't wait for it. PHI for the Philadelphia Eagles. KC for the Kansas City Chiefs. Get your game predictions in right now. What a great deal I want to tell you about thanks to our friends at Fanatics. And we have had so many great deals to relate to all of you. And we've seen by the sales that a lot of you have really enjoyed those. Get loaded up with some Eagles gear. And speaking of this Eagles-Chiefs game, how about this Eagles Super Bowl shirt? It was $38. It is now on sale for just $18. Head to chatsports.com/SB59 shirt. It'll take it to Fanatics. Fanatics will know that Chase Senior Eagles Now sent you. That link is down below in the comment section attached to the pinned comment of today's Philadelphia Eagles Now. Don't miss out on that deal. All right, let's move forward. Let's start to take some of your questions here. One of the things I love doing as a host of Philadelphia Eagles Now is being able to chop it up with all of you. I've been a diehard Eagles fan since I was 4 years old, and we all share something in common, right? Regardless of whether or not it's in season or off season, we love talking about the Eagles. We love covering the Eagles. We love following the Birds. And we always enjoy talking strategy, talking roster moves, talking potential moves, roster battles. The city of Philadelphia is so passionate about the game of football. And what's also incredible about Eagles fans compared to other fan bases, how knowledgeable all of us are. You all know ball, just like I know ball as the host of this show. So let's take some questions here on the program going into week 2. Snorlags 333 gets us started. What are we giving up for Denzel Ward? Now, if you watch the show this week, we've been talking about these Denzel Ward trade rumors. This is a hot topic among Eagles Twitter right now. Everybody is calling for Howie Roseman to make a move for Denzel Ward because on Tuesday, the Browns restructured his contract and they reverted his base salary into a bonus pretty much. And so he's going to get that money. And we're talking about a player in Ward who is one of the top bona fide shutdown cornerbacks in the National Football League. And Chip, we kind of have a scouting report of Denzel Ward if we can pop that up with what he's been able to accomplish. I really like the player. And the Browns are a team that, as we get closer to the NFL trade deadline, they could look to sell. And if they sell, they're going to have to open up cap space because of that Deshaun Watson contract. They could look to get rid of a player like Denzel Ward, who has been getting it done for a really long time. 4th overall pick in 2018. He's become a 4-time Pro Bowler out of Ohio State, 2018, 2021, 2023, 2024. He has 4.32 speed at corner, 96 passes defended in 96 games, and I think 91 starts and 17 career interceptions. Now, it is not going to come at a cheap price. I think what Philadelphia might have to give up for a player like this, a 2nd-round pick and a 3rd-round pick. I don't think it's to a point because he's a little bit older now in his late 20s where he's going to demand a 1st-round pick. The good news for the Eagles is, though, they have a bunch of draft capital if they're in contention and they feel as though they need to make a move. Now, I think what's going to happen, Adoree Jackson, who Vic Fangio said is probably going to start week 2 against Kansas City, short leash. If he doesn't work out, see if Jacorian Bennett can rise up and play well. If he doesn't, Howie Roseman approaching the deadline, he's got some leeway and flexibility here because it won't happen for another couple of months. Could make a trade for a player like Denzel Ward. Lion Fighter, otherwise known as LFX the GOAT, will Tank Bigsby get any carries, or is A.J. Dillon going to get them with the injury of Will Shipley? And so this is also a big topic among Eagles fans this week. Why did the Eagles trade for Tank Bigsby? They traded for him because Will Shipley injured his ribs in that week 1 game against the Cowboys, and the Eagles are expecting him to be out for a little while. He's RB2 behind Saquon Barkley. He's also the top kick returner for the Eagles. Tank Bigsby, he can run it. He's physical, more than 200 pounds. He packs a punch, downhill, one-cut, violent running style. Last year, he rushed for nearly 800 yards and 7 touchdowns. He's a legitimate player, former 3rd-round pick out of Auburn, and so he can help you fill the void of losing Will Shipley. He can also help fill in for being the kick returner for the Eagles, and so those are a couple of roles for him. The Eagles did trade for him on Monday night. They have a little bit of a mini bye. But because it's so late in the game prep week for Tank Bigsby, is he going to be RB2 behind Saquon? I would imagine it's A.J. Dillon behind Saquon. But it wouldn't surprise me if, with more practice reps, Bigsby then becomes the backup to Saquon, and then A.J. Dillon is still RB3. But that is a developing situation that we'll see how it transpires against Kansas City and in the coming weeks until Shipley comes back. Trey Losado. Do you think the Eagles have a big advantage against the Chiefs since the Chiefs didn't look good against the Chargers, and also go Birds? You know, it's awesome. Everywhere I go, especially when I'm traveling, I always like to wear an Eagles shirt to rep the Birds. It's a great conversation starter. And whether people are from Philly or not from Philly, it generates a conversation. If you're from Philly, a lot of people will say to me, go Birds. And I just utter back, go Birds. People who aren't from Philly, they're like, you're an Eagles fan? I'm like, yeah, what are you, a Dallas Cowboys fan? You guys stink. We're the defending Super Bowl champions. But they expect us to be so mean and angry when in reality, I think a lot of Philadelphians are very authentic, nice people who will always have your back. Anywho, always going to defend my city. Do the Eagles have a big advantage against the Chiefs since the Chiefs didn't look good against the Chargers? So it was kind of a tale of two halves for Kansas City. I thought they looked really bad in the first half. And overall in that game, they did average 5.5 yards per carry. A lot of that was from Mahomes, but Isaiah Pacheco averaged about 5 yards per carry as well. But they didn't generate a lot of explosive plays. And it was a very Patrick Mahomes reliant game. 24-39, 258 yards, and then 6 carries for 57 yards and a touchdown. He just felt forced to make plays because the Chiefs, frankly, do not have a lot of talent. This is one of the lighter Chiefs teams as far as high-level talent and depth that I have seen in recent memory. But they are still so dangerous because they have Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, Steve Spagnuolo, Chris Jones, and Trent McDuffie. But if you're just matching up roster versus roster, talent versus talent, depth versus depth, this Eagles team, Trey, is so much better than Kansas City. You should be able to win this game on talent alone. But obviously, it doesn't always happen like that. The Chiefs are desperate. They're at home. Tough environment. They're staring down the gun barrel of starting the year 0-2. Turnovers are going to be huge. The Chiefs are looking to get revenge on Philadelphia because they got absolutely embarrassed against the Eagles in the Super Bowl. We know that Andy Reid, with his back against the wall, is going to pull rabbits out of the hat. And he's going to pull out some of these play designs and play calls that nobody has ever seen before. Some trickery to try to catch this defense off guard. I think the Eagles win this game. I think they should win this game. I don't think it's acceptable if they do lose it. But the Chiefs are the Chiefs, and they've been the dragons that a lot of people haven't been able to slay for a reason. Andrew Nathan, Chase, so it's pretty safe to assume that Mike Hilton's workout was not as serious as we thought, seeing as the Eagles worked out other players. Could they be waiting to see Adoree Jackson in week 2? Yes. So Mike Hilton was brought in for a workout this week, and last year for the Cincinnati Bengals, he was the highest graded run defender in the NFL among corners. He is solely a slot guy because he's a little bit smaller and he's not that quick. The Eagles' backup corner situation, right now it's Mac McWilliams. If the Eagles don't like Mac McWilliams as the backup slot corner, or they like him more on the outside because they were testing him out there, they could look to make a move for Mike Hilton. But you are right. You know, at first we're thinking, oh, they're only working out Mike Hilton. They worked out a handful of players, and that included the likes of Jamin Davis, a former first-round pick by Washington out of Kentucky, the linebacker who's been a bust. It included former Eagle Quez Watkins, who only runs fast, and that's about it. And I have PTSD from missing that ball in the Super Bowl, which could have won the game for Philadelphia. But yeah, you know, it was a group of players who worked out. It wasn't just Hilton. But I think the Eagles wanted to see, okay, can he still play? He's a little bit older. Can he help us? But the Eagles are going to wait to see how Adoree Jackson looks. And if Adoree Jackson continues to struggle, Jacorian Bennett struggles as well, Eagles are going to be left with a decision to make. Do they make a move at corner? And they might have to make a move at corner. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button here on Philadelphia Eagles Now. Always love hearing from all of you in our mailbag segments. You know ball, we love talking ball, and it's always a party here on the show.